Hey, Shalom, family. Most High Christ bless. I'm Brother Eliah, and reading for me today is
Brother Yoel, Shalom, Most High in Christ, blessed family.
Shalom, Most High Christ bless. Good to see you guys. Another topic on Monday Night Lawz. This is the conclusion to There's Something About Joseph, and the class title is And whosoever of you would be the chiefest shall be servant of all, and whosoever of you will be the chiefest shall be servant of all, right? And this is the conclusion to There is Something About Joseph. We learned a lot of things in the last part one and part two, him going through a lot of situations, slowly elevating through those trials and tribulations, right? Being rooted in this, right? Let's get that in First Corinthians 15 verse 58. Being rooted is highly important to consistently look at our forefathers and foremothers, look at the examples they bestowed upon us. Remember, folks, he's been thrown in jail. He's been hated on. He's been accused, falsely accused, and everything, right? But guess what? We can learn from it. You have to be rooted in this. In order to be chiefest, you have to be a servant. You have to be humble. And he showcased that throughout his walk, right? Let's get that first, brother. The First Corinthians 15 and verse 58.
The book of First Corinthians, chapter 15 and verse 58. Therefore, my beloved brethren, be ye steadfast, unmovable, always abounding in the work of the Lord, for as much as ye know that your labor is not in vain in the Lord.
All praise to the Most High. Yes, man. You have to consistently labor towards Him, study, apply, right? And it's never going to be in vain once you do so, right? You become steadfast. You become unmovable when your mind is on the work of the Lord, right? If your mind is on the work of the Lord, you don't think negative all the time, right? You're able to be humble, just like Joseph in Proverbs 5:1 and 2.
The book of Proverbs, chapter 5 and verse 1. My son, attend unto my wisdom, and bow thine ear to my understanding.
Yes, showcasing humbleness, you have to listen, right? Bind your ears into instruction.
Mhm.
Once you do that, you slowly start to elevate because remember, the meek shall inherit the earth, right? And the Lord can slowly bless you, right? Read on.
Verse 2, that thou mayest regard discretion, and that thy lips may keep knowledge.
Yes, when you bind your ears to understand, you know how to bind up your words, just like in Sirach 33 and verse 4. Right? You thinking before you speaking, and you can help the community out once you take your time and actually apply what you're learning, right? Because wisdom cries out, but knowledge is her voice, right? So when you speak, you're supposed to elevate the people, have some type of plan, right? You foresee the evil to come, right? We have much work to do, folks. All praise to the Most High, just like Joseph in the last class. He was planning things ahead, right? Prophesying and everything, right? And that spirit bestowed in the midst of everybody, and they made him a righteous example for the kingdom of Egypt, right? Let's get Ecclesiasticus 10:1 through 3 on the example on being a leader and an unjust leader when you had those righteous attributes, right?
The book of Ecclesiasticus, chapter 10 and verse 1. A wise judge will instruct his people, and the government of a prudent man is well ordered.
Yeah, so once you have the right spirit, it's gonna that same spirit is gonna travel and hit everybody else, right? It's gonna be a reflection. So you gotta watch what you say, how you operate, right? Because everybody's watching, right? Instructing the people, right? Now that makes you a prudent man, and now you're well ordered, just like the folks that follows you as well, right? Read on.
Verse 2. As the judge of the people is himself, so are his officers. And what manner of man the ruler of the city is, such are all they that dwell therein.
Yep, just as judge of the people is himself, so are his officers, the leadership. In a manner of man, the ruler of the city is, such are all they that dwell therein, because you have a positive effect. That's why we have to watch what we speak, watch how we act and conduct ourselves, right? Just like Christ, because Christ could have came and he could have been about himself, but he wasn't. And we remember his works, right? And that's to go having a good report. Read
Yes.
on.
Verse 3, an unwise king destroyeth his people, but through the prudence of them which are in authority, the city shall be inhabited.
Yes, when you're unwise, you're going outside of the commandments.
Mhm.
We got a lot of examples of that today. Our so-called presidents, right? The leaders, the from the hip hop communities, from every entertainment business. They allowing them folks to be in order, to be our righteous examples, but they're without God, so they're destroying the minds of our people,
Mhm.
right? So unwise king destroyeth his people, not sticking with the Lord thy God, right? But through the prudence of them which are the authority of the city shall be inhabited. There's going to be chaos, right?
Mhm.
And when there's much chaos, these are also the characteristics of being unwise, right? We're gonna get an example of that, having a crab in a barrel complex,
Mhm.
right? We're gonna get that example in this book. You read that for me, brother. This is the Valley of the Dry Bones, the condition that faced Black people in America. We're gonna read a page out of this. All praise to the Most High, right? The crab in the barrel mentality, being unruly, right?
Okay. The attitude of Black customers toward Black businesses. The
Mhm.
attitude of many Black customers toward Black businesses is negative in various manners. Many of us are familiar with the crab complex or crab attitude. This expression originated from the nature of the crabs in a barrel. If one crab,
Yes, and this is dealing with all aspect. With this particular book, it goes to political and into building as well. The emotional side of things, our behavior structures, and also he's showcasing that we are the children of Israel by certain characteristics of the curses, right? Uh, and once we have that crab in the barrel mentality, right, it leaks over to businesses, to dealing with one another, right? Now read on.
if one crab will make an attempt to get out of the barrel, the other crabs will invariably pull him back into the barrel. The crab attitude manifests itself in many ways among Black people, and it can be defined as any negative, unhelpful behavior in which a particular race of people work against each other, especially when the members of the race have common problems inherent to the entire group.
Yes, all praise it. Thank you for the beautiful reading, brother.
All praises.
Man, as a nation of people, as a nation of people, we show hatred towards one another
Mhm.
by not looking, uh, having a goal in mind and looking at our forefathers and foremothers. That's why this Bible, the 1611 King James Version, is
Mhm.
highly important that we must have with the Apocrypha, so we
Yes,
can
sir.
go back and rethink ourselves in the land of our enemies, right? And the message is for you so-called blacks, Hispanics, whose fathers of Negroid and Indian descent. We have a major problem, right?
Mhm.
We learn from our enemies, right? We're not supposed to envy our oppressor, those that rule over us, right? So we have to bethink ourselves. We have to be taught in this, right?
Yes.
And that goes for building, right? In all aspects, we have to. If we're trying to build something, we have to utilize everybody, right? We,
Yes.
we can't uh, depart from that and think of ourselves,
Mm-mm.
right? We need to have that foundation which is in Christ, right? And that mighty example, of course, is with Joseph. In this aspect, he's transgressed, right, into being a leader in the government of Egypt at this moment. And check out what he's doing. He's building, right, in Genesis 41, 46 through 57. We're going to look at more of the characteristics of Joseph and what we can learn from and apply.
The book of Genesis, chapter 41 and verse 46. And Joseph was 30 years old when he stood before Pharaoh, king of Egypt. And Joseph went out from the presence of Pharaoh and went throughout all the land of Egypt.
He's 30 years old. Remember, he was 17 at first, and they found it. He threw him in the pit and everything, and being falsely accused. Then thrown in jail for 2 years, right?
Mm-hmm.
And do a lot. But you stay steadfast in this word, right? Unmovable when you study the Lord thy God, right? Read on.
Verse 47. And in the 7 plenteous years, the earth brought forth by handfuls.
Yes, just like he prophesied, right? Read on.
Verse 48. And he gathered up all the food of the 7 years which were in the land of Egypt, and laid up the food in the cities. The food of the field, which was round about every city, laid he up in the same.
Yes, and the thing about it, he's doing the works. He's staying in the moment. He's not just complaining about what's bad or good. He's just doing the works. He's accepting it. But a lot of folks out there, they complain so much, right? And you don't live in the moment. You understand. If you're a real builder, you understand the complex nature of things. You understand. You automatically adapt, and it's okay to brainstorm. But when you brainstorm, also edify and build each other up. But you don't just tear down folks and stay in that element of I'm going to complain, right? Because it showcases that you're being scared, right?
Mm-hmm.
You got something to say, brother?
And I want to say something also. Joseph worked the plan. The Most High God planned it out through the dream, as prophesied through Joseph, what those dreams meant for Pharaoh. Pharaoh elevated Joseph to governorship, and Joseph followed the plan. He was focused. He was consistent. Like my brother Elias said, he did not complain. He stayed on task and was not weary in well-doing. He was unmovable.
Yes, man. Just like in brother Joel's class, right? He had a game plan, in my state, to help our people get out of debt, right? To have some type of discipline, right? So we can then move forward and progress into other things, right? But it wasn't for no type of self-gain, right? We have to have a plan, and the righteous plan have to have Christ as a foundation, right? In all things, right?
Verse 49. And Joseph gathered corn as the sand of the sea, very much until he left numbering, for it was without number.
So he's doing the works, not complaining.
All praises.
Read on.
Verse 50. And unto Joseph were born 2 sons before the years of famine came, which Asenath, the daughter of Potipharah, priest of On, bare unto him.
So this is now he's showcasing the creation of the northern kingdom. All praises, man. Read on.
Verse 51. And Joseph called the name of the firstborn Manasseh, for God said, he hath made me forget all my toil and all my father's house.
All praise to the Most High. So things is coming to fruition, right? Read on.
Verse 52. And the name of the second called he Ephraim, for God hath caused me to be fruitful in the land of my affliction.
Notice if you stick to the Lord's plan, other things will come to fruition. Right? We can't be self-willed and do our own thing, right? If you do that, the Lord's going to handle you.
That's right.
Right? Because he could have been left. He could have complained and left and went to another land. He didn't.
I don't think he would have made it long either. He would have made it long without the Most High. All praise. He stayed, like you said, stayed on course, stayed on plan, stayed in the right spirit.
Yes, sir. Read on.
Verse 53. And the 7 years of plenteousness that was in the land of Egypt were ended.
Just as you prophesied, right? Read on.
Verse 54. And the 7 years of dearth began to come, according as Joseph had said. And the dearth was in all lands, but in all the land of Egypt there was bread.
Our praise to the Most High, right? Read on.
55, verse 55. And when all the land of Egypt was famished, the people cried to Pharaoh for bread. And Pharaoh said unto all the Egyptians, go unto Joseph. What he said to you do.
Mm-hmm. Yep. It's come to fruition. Read on.
Verse 56. And the famine was over all the face of the earth. And Joseph opened all the storehouses and sold unto the Egyptians, and the famine waxed sore in the land of Egypt.
Yep. It coming to pass. Right. Read on.
Verse 57. And all countries came into Egypt to Joseph for to buy corn, because that the famine was so sore in all lands.
Yes, you have to have the right spirit to lead, man. You have to be the righteous spirit. You have to learn to bind down your ear, listen, be a servant first, right? You can't talk about sin. Joseph never talked about leadership. Christ never talked about leadership. Solomon never talked about leadership. So why are folks talk about leadership out there? Doesn't make any sense, right? It's by your spirit. You have to have the spirit of Christ upon you to do the works of the people first, right? You don't think of yourself, just do the works, right? Listen to God, let him direct your path. Just like last class, right? Now we're gonna look at his sons, his brethren coming down to Egypt to get some corn, right? Just like everybody else is coming to him, right? We don't let's get Genesis 42 and 1 through 29.
Oh, 42. 1 through 29. Okay. The book of Genesis, chapter 42 and verse 1. Now, when Jacob saw that there was corn in Egypt, Jacob said unto his sons, why do you look one upon another?
Yep. He said, what you guys done? Why do ye look one upon another? Read on.
Verse 2. And he said, behold, I have heard that there is corn in Egypt. Get you down thither and buy for us from thence, that we may live and not die.
Man, like a flashback, your parents saying, what you doing? Get up.
Yeah.
Go to the store for me.
And may I add one little thing too, brother?
Yes, sir.
Jacob was wise too, because Jacob had something to barter with to get corn. So he didn't spend all his money up neither. Yeah. He had something set aside for a rainy day. All right. That's what I want to say.
Oh, praises. Just like your last class, you know, we teaching folks the discipline to have something to say for a rainy day, man. Oh, crazy.
It's going to rain. Verse 3. And Joseph's 10 brethren went down to buy corn in Egypt.
All right, let's see what happens. Read on.
Verse 4. But Benjamin, Joseph's brother, Jacob sent not with his brethren, for he said, lest peradventure mischief befall him.
Okay, trying to play a role very quick, right? Read on.
But he also didn't want to give his sons up, and if something happens to all of his sons, he has no sons left, no more inheritance. So he held one back. Verse 5. And the sons of Israel came to buy corn among those that came, for the famine was in the land of Canaan.
All praise. Now they're seeking to buy corn from him, right? Read on.
Verse 6. And Joseph was the governor over the land, and he it was that sold to all the people of the land. And Joseph's brethren came and bowed down themselves before him with their faces to the earth.
Yes, man, you got to be in the right spirit. Did Joseph ever be self-willed, or did he say, yeah, man, you bound down to me? Nah, right? Read on.
Verse 7. And Joseph saw his brethren, and he knew them, but made himself strange unto them, and spake roughly unto them. And he said unto them, whence come ye? And they said, from the land of Canaan to buy food.
Yes, man. And hey, let's see if Joseph hold a grudge or any bitterness, right? Read on.
Verse 8. And Joseph knew his brethren, but they knew not him.
Right? Read on.
And Joseph remembered the dreams which he dreamed of them, and said unto them, ye are spies to see the nakedness of the land. Ye are come.
Now he's accusing them of being spies. Read on.
Verse 10. And they said unto him, nay, my lord, but to buy food. Are thy servants come?
Yep. Now they had his mercy, right? Let's see what he does, right? Read on.
Verse 11, we are all one man's son. We are true men. Thy servants are no spies.
Yes. Right? Read on.
And he said unto them, nay, but to see the nakedness of the land ye are come.
You're trying to be slick. You're trying to see the negatives of the land. Right? Read on.
Verse 13, and they said, thy servants are 12 brethren, the sons of one man in the land of Canaan. And behold, the youngest is this day with our father, and one is not.
Yes, just like the brother you all brought out, Benjamin, was left behind. Right?
Mhm.
Read on.
Verse 14, and Joseph said unto them, that it is it that I spake unto you, saying, ye are spies.
Oh man.
Mhm.
Right? Read on.
Verse 15, hereby ye shall be proved by the life of Pharaoh. Ye shall not go forth hence except your youngest brother come hither.
Yeah, so he's giving out a decree. He said you should be proved, right, that you are not spies.
Mhm.
Bring out the youngest brother and Benjamin, right?
Mhm.
Read on.
Verse 16, send one of you and let him fetch your brother, and ye shall be kept in prison, that
Mm,
your words may be proved, whether there be any truth in you, or else by the life of Pharaoh, surely ye are spies.
yeah, so he's keeping up his appearance of being from another nation that his brothers are unaware of, right? Trying to be slick with them, trying to test them, right? Uh,
Mhm.
read on.
Verse 17, and he put them all together into ward 3 days. And
Mm,
Joseph said unto them, the third day, this do, and live, for I fear God.
mm. All praise it. Read on.
Verse 19, if you be true men, let one of your brethren be bound in the house of your prison. Go ye carry corn for the famine of your houses.
Yep. Rob, read on.
Verse 20, but bring your youngest brother unto me, so shall your words be verified, and ye shall not die. And they did so.
Yeah, so he's trying to prove them, right?
Mhm,
Bring your youngest brother, right?
mhm.
Is it out of bitterness or for something else? Is it more to the story, right? Read on.
Verse 21, and they said one to another, we are verily guilty concerning our brother, in that we saw the anguish of his soul when he besought us, and we would not hear. Therefore is this distress come upon us.
They're thinking themselves,
Mhm,
right? They're feeling guilty about something.
mhm.
Right? Read on.
Verse 22, and Reuben answered them, saying, spake I not unto you, saying, do not sin against the child, and ye will not hear. Therefore, behold, also his blood is required.
Yes, right. You shouldn't kill your brother. Shouldn't conspire against your brother.
Mm-hmm.
Right? They thinking. At least they've been thinking themselves. That's what we should do.
Yes.
Right? Read on.
Verse 23, and they knew not that Joseph understood them, for he spake unto them by an interpreter.
Mm. Our phrase is trying to keep up their appearance, right? Read on.
Verse 24, and he turned himself about from them and wept, and returned to them again and communed with them, and took from them Simeon and bound him before their eyes.
Mm. He wept. He turned himself about from them and wept. We're gonna see a pattern here, folks. Right? He could do a lot of things right now. Right? Read on.
Verse 25, then Joseph commanded to fill their sacks with corn, and to restore every man's money into his sack, and to give them provision for the way. And thus did he unto them.
Yep. We can go back to Israel, Jacob.
Mhm.
Right? Read on.
Verse 26, and they laded their asses with the corn and departed thence.
Read on.
And as one of them opened his sack to give his ass provender in the end, sorry, he espied his money. Sorry, for behold, it was in his sack's mouth.
Mm.
Oh, 1 second. I'm sorry.
You good?
I got a bottle of water real quick. 1 second.
No problem. So he's setting him up to go back into his Jacob, father, to be able to bring forth this his vision, right? That he had, this opposition, right?
Yes, sir.
And he said unto his brethren, my money is restored, and lo, it is even in my sack. And their heart failed them, and they were afraid, saying one to another, what is this that God hath done unto us? So the money is given into him and everything, right? So now they're going back to Israel, Jacob, right, to bring forth Benjamin, right, to come back to prove himself, right? Just like in vision, right? Verse 29.
Verse 29. And they came unto Jacob, their father, unto the land of Canaan, and told him all that befell unto them, saying,
So all praise to the Most High. Now they're telling Father Israel, Jacob, brother Jacob, what has happened, right, and how things came to be. All praise to the Most High. Let's get Genesis 43, 16 through 34, right? Talking about the famine, right, and Judah actually being the one to bring forth Benjamin, right, and telling them what's going to happen and how things came to be, right? Read on.
The book of Genesis, chapter 43, and verse 16. And when Joseph saw Benjamin with them, he said to the ruler of his house, bring these men home and slay and make ready, for these men shall dine with me at noon.
Yeah, so when he told Jacob used wisdom and told him, hey, bring a present for Joseph and his army, bring the frankincense, the myrrh, the nuts, and everything, and bring back the double the money in which they had upon them, right? And bring forth Benjamin as well with you guys, right? And when you come now, they're at the part where they're at Joseph's house with Benjamin, and now they're nervous, right? About them being in the house. They don't know what's going to happen, right? Read on.
Verse 17. And the man did as Joseph bade, and the man brought the men into Joseph's house.
Yep. Praises, right? Read on.
Verse 18. And the men were afraid because they were brought into Joseph's house. And they said, because of the money that was returned in our sacks at the first time, are we brought in that he may seek occasion against us and fall upon us and take us for bondmen in our asses?
Yes, you got them worrying now, right? At least they have some type of present or something, so be cordial about something, right? Read on.
Verse 19. And they came near to the steward of Joseph's house, and they communed with him at the door of the house.
Okay, right. Read on.
Verse 20, and said, oh, sir, we came indeed down at the first time to buy food.
Yes, that they're telling the whole purpose of them coming down, right? Hoping for to showcase some type of mercy that Joseph, trying to ask Joseph to bestow some type of mercy upon them, right? Read on.
Verse 21, and it came to pass when he came to the end that we opened our sacks, and behold, every man's money was in the mouth of his sack, our money in full weight, and we have brought it again in our hand.
Yeah, but trying to showcase that they're not spies, that don't have no type of evil plan or whatever the case may be, right? Joseph could have been destroyed them a long time ago, right? Read on.
Verse 22, and other money have we brought down in our hands to buy food. We cannot tell who put our money in our sacks.
Yes, you couldn't tell, right? And look, they being honest about it, right? Read on.
Verse 23, and he said, peace be to you, fear not, your God, and the God of your father hath given you treasure in your sacks. I had your money, and he brought Simeon out into them.
All praise to the Most High, right? The Lord is still with them, showcasing mercy, right? Read on.
Verse 24, and the man brought the men into Joseph's house and gave them water, and they washed their feet, and he gave their asses provender.
He didn't have to do that. If he was bitter, he could have could have did a lot of stuff,
All praise.
right? That's something we got to learn from this story, right? That
Yes.
mercy, man,
Yes.
suffering.
Yes, sir.
You know.
Verse 25. And they made ready the present against Joseph, came at noon, for they heard that they should eat bread there.
So they're giving it the present that their father gave to them. You know. Read on.
And when Joseph came home, they brought him the present which was in their hand into the house and bowed themselves to him to the earth.
Right. Read on.
And he asked them for their welfare and said, Is your father well, the old man of whom you spake? Is he yet alive?
Yeah. So he's still checking on his father. Joseph's still inquiring of him. Right. Read on.
Verse 28. And they answered, Thy servant, our father, is in good health. He is yet alive. And they bowed down their heads and made obeisance.
All praises, man. He has the power to shut everything down, but he doesn't. Showcasing long suffering, no bitterness in him, right?
That's
Read
right.
on.
Verse 29. And he lifted up his eyes and saw his brother Benjamin, his mother's son, and said, Is this your younger brother, of whom ye spake unto me? And he said, God be gracious unto thee, my son.
Yes, he's showing that compassion, that mercy, right? He remembered his brother, Benjamin, right? Read on.
Verse 30. And Joseph made haste, for his bowels did yearn upon his brother, and he sought where to weep, and he entered into his chamber and wept there.
Yes, he's weeping. Once again, he's weeping. He made haste, for his bowels did yearn upon his brother. Brother, you should be like that towards your brother and your sister, right? We've been through so much, right?
Yes.
And he's weeping, right? Read on.
Verse 31. And he washed his face and went out and refrained himself and said, Set on bread.
He's giving them something to eat, right? Read on.
Verse 32. And they set on for him by himself, and for them by themselves, and for the Egyptians which did eat with him by themselves, because the Egyptians might not eat bread with the Hebrews, for that is an abomination unto the Egyptians.
But today they call it segregation, hatred. Right? No, everything is in order, right? They're dealing with their own people, right? Read on.
Verse 33. And they sat before him, the firstborn according to his birthright, and the youngest according to his youth. And the men marveled one at another.
Everything is in order, right? Read on.
Verse 34. And he took and sent messes unto them from before him. But Benjamin's mess was 5 times so much as any of theirs, and they drank and were merry with him.
Yes, man. Joseph is showcasing a high level of long suffering, mercy, right? Patience with his brethren, man. Making haste. He couldn't hold it, contain it in his spirit, right? To try to even be vigilant, being evil, wicked, or try to vex the spirit, right? He sought where to weep, right? And he entered into his chamber and wept there, man. Folks got to remember that. You have to have compassion, mercy, because you don't know what folks are going through, right? We're going to get an example of that, man. You got to remember, we always read about the commandments, the curses, being thrown on slave ships for you Black, Hispanics, and Native Americans. But guess what? There's trauma after that as well. We're going to get an example of that, right?
Post-traumatic theory that really looks at multi-generational explanatory theory that really looks at multi-generational trauma.
This is Dr. Joy D. Gray, right? She handles the psychology part of trauma, of dealing with slavery and what the so-called Blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans has been going through, right? We all been through many things, so we have to show that compassion, that mercy, right? And she's going to indulge in that.
One of the things that's difficult for people is their first response is, oh my God, that happened so long ago. We're talking about people being captured, shipped, sold, beaten, raped, experimented on. And then you have to ask the question, did the trauma continue? Yes. So 300 years of trauma, no help, freed, no help, more trauma. If it's a sustained trauma, then the impact of that is also sustained. When we look at multi-generational trauma, we're looking at people who are maybe victims of natural disasters and their families and their children, and generations of folks who have experienced war. And we know that there are residual mental, emotional, traumatic impact. And what I did was I started to look at the African-American experience, starting with slavery, as a real clear, long enduring trauma. So I started to see that there were clear connections between that survival behavior and contemporary living in African-American experience. I started to see common behaviors that I took for granted as, well, cultural. There's adaptive behaviors, survival behaviors. Well, what are they? Let's just say 2019, you have a Black mother and a white mother. The sons go to school together. They find themselves at a meeting. The Black mother leans over to the white mother and says, I just wanted to mention to you that I noticed that your son is really doing quite well. And the white mother's response is, oh, thank you. She begins to go on and on about, he won the science fair, his uncle's an astronaut. She's just oozing. She realizes the Black mother's son is actually excelling her son. And she says, well, wait a minute. Your son's the one that's really coming along. And the Black mother responds, oh my God, he's a handful, but oh, he just works my nerves. Now, when I'm working with African-American people, it doesn't matter what the audience is. It doesn't matter what class. If I were to ask, is she very proud while she's saying those denigrating things? And everybody laughs and goes, of course, there's a secret. Because everybody Black knows that even though the Black mother is going, oh my God, she's really proud. So now let's roll that scene back 300 years. And let's say this Black mother is working in the fields, and a white slave owner comes through and says, wow, that boy is really coming along. What is she gonna say? No, he's not. He's stupid. He's shiftless. He can't work, because I don't want you to sell him. So I denigrate them to protect them. That is called appropriate adaptation when living in a hostile environment. The little white boy, say Timmy, he feels really comfortable and happy about what his mom just said about him. And Trey looks at his mom and wonders, why can't you be proud of me? Because he doesn't understand the secret yet. And by the time he learns the secret, he will have already been injured by it. Post-traumatic slave syndrome.
And that's the problem. Like the whole time we have the Bible, but it was taken from us. It was edited and everything, right? That's why it's highly important. That's why we teach, right? Because this book gives you light, just like in Baruch 4:1, right? We're gonna pull something real quick in Proverbs, right? Because if you're doing something over and over again, it's having trauma in your life, you're gonna act upon it, because everything is spiritual. It could be music, bad habits with food, or whatever the case, or anything that the world pushes and teaches our people, right? When you practice that over and over again, you're gonna become the so-called ninja, right? And have certain characteristics to that when you start listening to it. Some people say they're from the street or whatever the case may be. And, some of them bring that attitude towards in the truth. But of course, in time, we have to learn to get that devil off of us, right? It takes time, right? But keep this in mind that it's a learned behavior in Proverbs 23 and verse 7.
The book of Proverbs, chapter 23 and verse 7. For as he thinketh in his heart, so is he. Eat and drink, saith he to thee, but his heart is not with thee.
Yes, you do something over and over again, you're gonna become it consistently, right? That's why in this truth, we have to relearn everything, right? Have a care for the people, because we all come from different walks of life, right? We have to encourage each other to good works, right? Let's get that in Hebrews 10:24-25, right? Keep that in mind, because we're dealing with so much trauma, right? Be patient, have mercy, right? Let's get that in Hebrews 10:24-25.
The book of Hebrews, chapter 10 and verse 24. And let us consider one another to provoke unto love and to good works.
Yes, provoke each other to love and to good works, because you don't know who you're dealing with, what kind of issues that they have that's bestowed upon them, right? We have to be fragile with our people, right? Some people, they may have disabilities you're unaware of. You just snapping on them, right? It's so many different areas that we deal with, because we say it all the time. Due to the curses in Deuteronomy, we've been shipped and sold on slave ships. We mingled among the nations. We learned their works, and it's a generational curse. Your families, your mother, your father, or another family member is teaching you the ways of the world. You don't think there's no type of trauma? There's got to be trauma there, right? Read on.
Verse 25, not forsaking the assembling of ourselves together, as the manner of some is, but exhorting one another, and so much the more as ye see the day approaching.
Yes, we have to consider one another, provoke unto love and to good works, and don't do it for yourself, right?
That's right.
Build our people up consistently, because you don't know what that person may be going through, right? You have to always keep that in mind, right?
Yes.
And get that example in Genesis 44, 1 through 7. This is another thing that happens normally too, right? Is we counsel to do wickedly among each other, right? And at this time, Joseph is planning and it's to kind of, I want to say, like an attack against his own brother in order to get them scared or out of the spirit or whatnot. On the flip side, we do something as well, right? But it's not in his spirit to go forth with his little plan that he got against his brother and uh, against his brother. It's not in his spirit. Some of us got that devil spirit upon them to hurt one another. We're going to get an example of what type of spirit Joseph has in Genesis 44, 1 through 13.
The book of Genesis, chapter 44 and verse 1. And he commanded the steward of his house, saying, fill the men's sacks with food as much as they can carry, and put every man's money in his sack's mouth.
You're planning something, right? Read on.
Verse 2, and put my cup, the silver cup, in the sack's mouth of the youngest, and his corn money. And he did according to the word that Joseph had spoken.
Right, read on.
Verse 3, as soon as the morning was light, the men were sent away, and they and their asses.
Yeah, he's telling his men the plan, right? Trying to trip them up. But it's not really in him. We're gonna prove that real quick, right? Read on.
Verse 4, and when they were gone out of the city and not yet far off, Joseph said unto his steward, up, follow after the men, for when thou dost overtake them, say unto them, wherefore have you rewarded evil for good?
Yes, building a false report. But we're going to see something if that's really in his spirit, right? Read on.
Verse 5, is not this it in which my Lord drinketh, and whereby indeed he divineth? He hath done evil in so doing.
Right? So he's going forward with the plan. Read on.
Verse 6, and he overtook them, and he spake unto them these same words.
Read on.
And they said unto him, wherefore saith my Lord these words? God forbid that thy servants should do according to this thing.
Because they're doing everything that was directed towards them. He's doing everything that he's possibly have said, right? So what's going on, right? Read on.
Verse 8, behold the money which we found in our sack's mouth, we brought again unto thee out of the land of Canaan. How then should we steal out of thy Lord's house silver or gold?
Exactly, right? Making the plea, right? Read on.
Verse 9, with whomsoever of thy servants it be found, both let him die, and we also will be my Lord's bondmen.
Right? Whosoever of thy service it be found, both let him die, and we also will be my Lord's bondsmen. Right? Read on.
Verse 10, And he said, now also let it be according to unto your words. He with whom it is found shall be my servant, and ye shall be blameless.
Man, right? Read on.
Verse 11. Then they speedily took down every man his sack to the ground, and opened every man his sack.
Man, I know they're petrified too, man. He sent out that decree, man, that what would happen, that you'll be put to death if they find something, right? Trying to scare them, right? Read on.
Verse 12. And he searched and began at the eldest and left at the youngest. And the cup was found in Benjamin's sack.
Uh-oh. Man, being set up. But as a nation of people, we set each other up, right? Counsel to do evil, right? Have some type of wicked agenda, right? Read on.
Verse 13. Then they rent their clothes and laded every man his ass and returned to the city.
Right. And when you read past this, Judah is making his plea towards Joseph, explaining to him that they followed exactly what the directions that he's given forth, making his plea throughout the whole chapter, the rest of the chapter, right? We're going to get an understanding. Well, actually, since he made that decree and he's making his acquisition towards them, right? That's what our people like to do in Proverbs 12, right? 5-7. We like to counsel, right? Think of evil ways against one another. Right? You want to see the fault in folks, set people up, right? That's not the spirit of Christ, right? You're trying to vex the spirit. For what? We all brethren. We all go through some type of trauma, right? Let's get that in Proverbs 12, 5-7.
The book of Proverbs, chapter 12 and verse 5. The thoughts of the righteous are right, but the counsels of the wicked are deceit.
Yes, the thoughts of the righteous are right, but the counsels of the wicked are deceit. Trying to have some type of deceit, right? If you don't find out if Joseph actually goes through it, if it's really in his spirit, he's doing it, but does he really mean it? Is it really in him, right? Read on.
Verse 6. The words of the wicked are to lie in wait for blood, but the mouth of the upright shall deliver them.
Yes, the words of the wicked are to lie in wait for blood. You trying to start stuff. You trying to vex the spirit. Like for what? Right? You're trying to find fault, trying to find something. Your questions, they're not righteous. Your actions are not righteous. Right? You're looking for something. For what? We're all going through something if you look closely at one another, right? But the mouth of the upright shall deliver. And you're supposed to deliver folks, not put them down. No, don't vex the spirit. You're all going through something.
Yes, sir.
Right? But guess what happened, right? Verse 7. Yep, 7.
Verse 7. The wicked are overthrown and are not, but the house of the righteous shall stand.
Yes, the wicked shall flee, and they'll be overthrown. All the time, the righteous shall stand, bold as lions. Right? Regardless, when you stick to this word. Right?
That's right.
Right. Let's see if Joseph, Judah making his plea towards him. Like, wait, what's going on? Like, we did everything that you said. You accusing us of this now? Let's see how Joseph handled himself. That's really in him, right? In Genesis 45, 1-13.
The book of Genesis, chapter 45 and verse 1. Then Joseph could not refrain himself before all them that stood by him, and he cried, cause every man to go out from me. And there stood no man with him, while Joseph made himself known unto his brother.
He couldn't help it. And see, everything is spiritual, right? Some people are playing their role. They are wicked. But you have to have the spirit of Christ upon you, that mercy, that faith, the fruits of the spirit, just like in Galatians 5 and 22, right? You can't fake the funk. You got to be in you. He can't even go through it. He's weeping because he's showing compassion for his brother and his sister, right? We have to do the same thing. Can't fake it, right? Got to watch what you say, and how you move and operate. Keep that in mind, folks, because we're all going through some type of trauma, right? Right? Read on.
Verse 2, and he wept aloud, and the Egyptians and the house of Pharaoh heard.
He wept aloud. Right? You should we should weep among each other, because as a nation of people, we've been sold into slave ships, Black, Hispanic, and Native Americans.
Yes, sir.
Father, Negro, Indian descent. You don't think there's no type of trauma? Notice how some of our family members don't, like, we try to tell them, talk about the Bible. They so deep and wrapped up in this world that they can't flee them. They can't come out of it, right? Or they may be afraid because all the slave movies and all that has teach you that you're the slave consistently, teach you that you're a ninja or a spick or whatever the case may be consistently. They're afraid of change. That's trauma. That's another form of trauma. We have so many traumas to deal with to show that compassion and mercy, right? I'll read on.
Verse 3, and Joseph said unto his brethren, I am Joseph. Doth my father yet live? And his brethren could not answer him, for they were troubled at his presence.
Yeah, so now he's telling them who he really is. He couldn't help it. All praises, right? Read on.
Verse 4, and Joseph said unto his brethren, come near to me, I pray you. And they came near, and he said, I am Joseph, your brother, whom you sold into Egypt.
He's not showing no type of bitterness. A lot of us can't do that. You can't do what Joseph did. You sold me into Egypt, remember? He could have destroyed him.
That's right.
Instantly. You do that today. You hold on to grudges. You're so mad. But yet, folks in the truth, but yet you go out to the street and teach people to repent. You can't be a hypocrite, right? If you have the Spirit of Christ, we're going to read more about the Spirit of Christ, Lord's will, in the next scriptures, right? It's going to show certain characteristics. We have to relearn and bethink yourself, right? And be honest with each other. Sit down, meditate, check yourself, right? We all got to do it. Everybody wants the kingdom, right? Got to work for it.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Read on.
Verse 5, now therefore be not grieved, nor angry with yourselves, that ye sold me hither. For God did send me before you to preserve life. What?
He's not complaining. He understood. No, this is the Lord's will. I got to go through this. He said he's telling them to not be grieved.
That's right.
Nor angry with yourselves.
He sees the plan of God, and he understands the mission to preserve life. That's what the Most High wants to preserve his people. All praises. Through it all.
Man. All praise to the Most High, right? Read on.
Verse 6, for these 2 years hath the famine been in the land, and yet there was 5 years in which there shall neither be earing nor harvest.
And so he's telling them the prophecy that was bestowed upon him. Now he's telling them everything. He could have had hatred and not say anything, just killed them off.
And hide the truth.
Man. Just think about it, from 17 to 30 years old, elevation. All right, read on.
Verse 7, and God sent me before you to preserve you a posterity in the earth and to save your lives by a great deliverance.
It's the Lord's plan. It's the Lord's timing. Right?
Yes.
Certain things are timed, right? It's certain visions are given into certain teachers and individuals for a particular reason. Don't have the crab complex mentality and hate one another because of that. We all got different gifts, right? Show that compassion and mercy.
Yes.
All going through it. All you gotta do is talk with somebody, get to know them.
Yes.
Don't fly off the handle. Be very fragile with our people, right? With one another, right? Read on.
Verse 8. So now it was not you that sent me hither, but God. And he had made me a father to Pharaoh and Lord of all his house and a ruler throughout all the land of Egypt.
He could have, man, it was God. He said it was God's will
That's right.
to teach me something, to be steadfast in this. We gotta be steadfast, to show compassion and mercy. And then now you're at this level. Remember the people that's beneath you. You're beneath them as well. Be like Christ. Wash the feet. Don't just like folks out there kissing feet out there. Nah, like Christ washed those feet.
That's right.
He showed a compassion and mercy. He didn't walk around like he was like the it person. Right? And he's the King of Kings. Man. Right, read on.
That's right, brother. Verse 9. Haste ye and go up to my father and say unto him, thus said thy son Joseph, God hath made me Lord of all Egypt. And come down unto me, tarry not.
Yes, because right now his father think he's passed away. That's what that lets you know that words are important, right? Because man, we're gonna get example of that. We're gonna see something with that, right? Read on.
Right, all praises. Verse number 10. And thou shalt dwell in the land of Goshen, and thou shalt be near unto me, thou and thy children, and thy children's children, and thy flocks, and thy herds, and all that thou hast.
Yes, and now everybody's gonna be blessed. Everybody's gonna eat.
Yes, we all gonna
eat.
We all gonna be taken care of. You got this knowledge to build your people up. You got this wealth to build your people up.
Right? Don't envy one another. Don't show hatred. Right? We got to build because God gave us specific gifts and we all come together in due time. Right? Read on.
Verse 11. And there will I nourish thee, for yet there are 5 years of famine, lest thou and thy household and all that thou hast come to poverty.
He's telling what's going to happen, right? Like they're going to be in the midst with him as well, right? Read on.
Verse 12. And behold, your eyes see, and the eyes of my brother Benjamin, that it is my mouth that speaketh unto you.
Yes, right now I know they're shocked and they can't believe it. This is really, this is me, Joseph. I'm talking to you guys.
Right? That's right.
Read on.
Verse 13. And ye shall tell my father of all my glory in Egypt, and of all that ye have seen, and ye shall haste and bring down my father hither.
Yes. And the fame of that was heard in Pharaoh's house, and he gave that stamp of approval. Like, yeah, you can bring your family in.
Yes, sir.
Right? Because he showcased that wise and understanding spirit, the spirit of Christ upon him, right? And activated in the midst of the other nations. What we should do that teaches us how to operate in the midst of other nations. You can't be fighting one another. If you got a doctrine, a different doctrine out there, go teach the people. Don't teach and post scriptures all day long on the Facebook. Do more. Help the people. What you gonna do with that knowledge, right? That's what a true leader is, right? Christ did it. Follow Christ. Everybody say love, love, love Christ. Look at his righteous example, right? Because you can bring much joy, just like in verse 27 and 28.
The book of Genesis, chapter 45 and verse 27. And they told him all the words of Joseph, which he had said unto them. And when he saw the wagons which Joseph had sent to carry him, the spirit of Jacob, their father, revived.
This man, the spirit of Jacob, their father, revived. You were trying to uplift the people, revive them. Right? Remember, wisdom crieth, and the voice is the knowledge. Right? Man, it's powerful. It's supposed to uplift, not see the blood, not cast off evil hatred or have some evil surmising, or you're trying to see the fault in folks. That's not the spirit of Christ, right? Trying to revive people, encourage one of good words, right? Read on.
Verse 28. And Israel said, it is enough. Joseph, my son, is yet alive. I will go and see him before I die.
Yes, and he's able to see his sons, man, being able to pass away in peace. Right? I mean, when he passed away, he'd be buried with his forefathers and foremothers as well, right? And that's powerful as well. Your words are highly important when you're dealing with our people. Keep in mind of that, right? How you operate, having a spirit of Christ upon you,
Yes.
right? Because that's we have to do things in good works, right? Let's get that in Ephesians 2:6.
2:10 or 2:6?
Oh, 2:10, my bad.
Okay. The book of Ephesians, chapter 2 and verse 10. For we are his workmanship,
Mm.
created in Christ Jesus, unto good works, and which God had before ordained that we should walk in them.
Yes, we're his workmanship, created in Christ. We say we believe on Christ. This walk, it forces you to be humble, right? So you can't have the ninja or the Pinocchio, I want to be a boy, real man, or whatever spirit upon you that's in the world. You have to humble yourself. It forces you. It forces you to use God's wisdom in His words. Go outside of it. Guess what? You got the ninja spirit on you. You got
Yes.
the devil on you, right? We're His workmanship, created in Jesus Christ, right? And unto good works. Is your works good enough? Right? When you speaking, are you uplifting people? Are you pulling them down?
Mm.
Let's get Mark 10:44. More aspects to uh, being a righteous example for the people using Christ, the foundation, being built up in this, right?
The book of Mark, chapter 10 and verse 44. And whosoever of you will be the chiefest shall be servant of all.
Yes. You have to learn these attributes. It definitely takes time.
Mhm.
Folks want to be leaders, or whatever the case may be. Notice that they never raise their hand to be leaders. They showed it by their actions, right?
Yep.
You have to bethink yourself. You have to relearn, right? And then the Lord will build you up. He'll give the increase,
Yes.
right? You have to be a servant. Learn how to showcase the fruits of the Spirit, right? Do it for the people, right? Do all things in Christ. Let's get that in Colossians 3:23 through 24.
The book of Colossians, chapter 3 and verse 23. And whatsoever ye do, do it heartily as to the Lord and not unto men.
Yes, do it for the people. Don't do it for men,
Mhm.
right? You trying to be a chief? That's your main goal? No, sir. No, ma'am. Right? Do it for the people, right? Read on.
Verse 24, knowing that of the Lord ye shall receive the reward of the inheritance, for ye serve the Lord Christ.
Yes, we serve the Lord Christ when we edify the people, right? Also giving respect and honor, giving respect to the our women out there as well. It's like this woman did a great work, right? You want to have good works, right? Be that servant, have the spirit of Christ upon you, right?
That's right.
Read on.
The book of Matthew, chapter 26 and verse 10. When Jesus understood it, he said unto them, why trouble ye the woman? For she hath wrought a good work upon me.
Yes, right. Read on.
Verse 11, for ye have the poor always with you, but me you have not always.
Right. Read on.
Verse 12, for in that she hath poured this ointment on my body, she did it for my burial.
Right. Read on.
Verse 13, verily I say unto you, wheresoever this gospel shall be preached in the whole world, there shall also this woman have done be told for a memorial of her.
All praise to the Most High. We give respect towards that women for that great work, that great righteous example for our women out there, right? The book of Acts, chapter 5 and verse 29.
The book of Acts, chapter 5 and verse 29. Then Peter and the other apostles answered and said, we ought to obey God rather than men.
We ought to obey God rather than man. All praises to the Most High in Christ. Tonight's topic once again on Monday Night Lawz, right? And whosoever of you will be the chiefest shall be servant of all. We have to learn through our forefathers and foremothers how to operate in the spirit of Christ. I hope you guys been edified tonight. right? All praise to the Most High. I'm Brother Eli, and reading for me today is
Brother Yoel. Shalom, Most High in Christ, blessed family.
until next time, Israel, Lord willing, Shalom.
Shalom.
Most High in Christ bless.
Most High in Christ, bless.